How would you feel if you woke up one day and discovered that everyone you loved was gone, ripped from your life forever? Your mother, sister, brother, aunts, uncles, cousins, grandparents, nephews, everyone gone. I'll tell you how it feels. It makes you madder than hell. You want to scream, but you know it will do no good. And you wonder, how will I go on? But somehow you find a way. You survive. I know because I'm a survivor. Hi, my name is Brenda Lee, and I'm the author of this book, Out of the Cocoon. You might recognize my face because in 2008 I appeared on The Secret Lives of Women. And in that program, I shared a secret about my life that I would like to share with you today. And the secret is this: there's a danger lurking outside your door. For years, a group of people have been showing up at homes unannounced. And lately, they've been showing up outside businesses and on the street. They appear benign, but are they? Within the sect, they are known as the Friends. And to outsiders, they're known as Jehovah's Witnesses. How could any group called the Friends be dangerous? Beware, my friend. That's what they want you to think. To fully appreciate the danger, you'll need to travel back in time with me to 1962. That's me, the youngest of three. I was my family's pride and joy. So was our 100-year-old farm where we lived in rural Pennsylvania. For my early years, it was paradise. I played with my cousins from sunup to sundown. We'd make pottery from clay we found in the stream, jump from the hayloft in the barn, and ride our bikes for miles. My cousins were my life. Then in 1971, there was a knock on the door. My mom, a Methodist Sunday school teacher, opened the door. She knew nothing about Jehovah's Witnesses. They smiled and seemed so warm and so caring. And within 6 weeks, they convinced her to abandon her Methodist faith, effectively becoming an apostate to join their ranks. For Jehovah's Witnesses, baptism seals the deal. It makes you one of the Friends. What they don't tell you is that it's like being in the mafia. Once you're in, it's hard to get out without life-altering consequences. In a minute, I'll show you why. At 10, I was deemed a mature minor, worthy of this lifelong contract they called baptism. Do I look mature? I was still playing with Barbie dolls and believed in Santa Claus. Nevertheless, like so many children before me, I was dunked in a pool and branded a Jehovah's Witness for life. And from there, it got worse, much worse. Almost immediately, I was told I had to stop associating with my relatives because Satan might be using them to keep me from learning the truth. The truth, by the way, is what the Watchtower Bible and Tract Society calls its religion. Faithful Jehovah's Witnesses follow every single directive of the Watchtower Society without question. But the truth is, the Watchtower Society is a multi-million-dollar publishing company determined to steal your money, time, and devotion like a powerful drug, hard to shake. Jehovah's Witnesses will tell you that they're family-oriented, and they will deny on their official website that they shun loved ones. But their own literature tells a much different story. At the age of 10, I was forbidden to speak to doting aunts and uncles. My own sweet grandma was now off limits to me. My cousins, my only playmates, gone. And so it went for the next decade, bitter isolation. Oh, the Watchtower promised a paradise on earth any day now. But the truth is, they stole my paradise. Everything was fine before they showed up. Meanwhile, my mom became obsessed. She'd sit at the table for the better part of a day, highlighting and making notations in her Bible, underlining every word in their literature, never realizing how she was neglecting her family. Homemade meals became TV dinners, and family gatherings obsolete. Here's a video I took of her Bible. How many people would do this to their Bible? How many people would go to this great length?
to memorize and know every bit of it like this. I don't even think a person in seminary would do this.
My older brother and sister quickly followed in her footsteps. But not me. Even at the tender age of 10, I knew something had gone terribly wrong. And for the next 6 years, the emotional and physical abuse was almost more than I could bear. And then on November 18th, 1978, something big happened. Jonestown, a mass suicide, murder. Over 900 dead, several hundred of them children. And then it made sense to me. My family was in a destructive cult. For the next 4 years, I plotted an escape. But once I was out, it was a rough 3 months, eating garbage to survive, receiving nothing from my family, not even a blanket. Until my aunt intervened. With her assistance, I moved to Colorado with a one-way plane ticket and $50 in my pocket. A year later, I graduated from college with honors. The Watchtower warned Jehovah's Witnesses back in 1968 that the end was imminent and that education was a waste of time. But I knew an education was my best shot at a good life. And quite frankly, I didn't care about the end of the world. After sitting stoically through 7 days of religious assemblies like this one, preaching up to 90 hours a month, after watching my young nephews being beaten into submission with belts during church services, after living a lie I was forced to call the truth, well, let's just say this so-called wicked world looked quite appealing. And then my mom received new information from headquarters. They call it new light when a policy changes. This new mandate came from their September 15th, 1981 Watchtower magazine, and simply stated, my mother, brother, sister, and her kids, and everyone who was a Jehovah's Witness would have to shun me. Shunning is abuse, but in the insulated world of Jehovah's Witnesses, it's the norm. No one ever speaks to you or even looks at you again. It's considered biblical punishment for sinning. But wait a minute, I wasn't a sinner. I just didn't want to be a witness anymore. Regardless, the contract changed, and there was nothing I could do about it. Barely 18, I was faced with a terrible decision. I chose freedom. I went on with my life. And then, 10 years later, I had a family to call my own. My son Derek became my new light, and nothing else mattered. Nothing except perhaps the strong need to warn others, to tell people how this cult preys upon families. And so, in 2006, my memoir, Out of the Cocoon, was published. It was my voice, the voice I never had as a child. There's so much more I could tell you about their lies. For instance, they'll tell you that they are the only ones to use God's name, Jehovah, but they're not. They'll say they don't harbor pedophiles and that victims are always free to go to the police. But programs like Dateline paint a much different picture. Most of the rank and file aren't even aware that elders require 2 eyewitnesses when a child is molested by a member of the congregation. They'll tell you only a few of their members have died refusing blood transfusions. Unnecessary deaths, even children, like Jonestown. They'll tell you that my story is rare and that I must have committed some egregious act to warrant the shunning. But I know the truth, and so do countless others. And now, through the internet, we know we're not alone. Our voices are growing louder each day. July 26, 2014 marks the first annual Watchtower Victims Memorial Day. It's an opportunity for former Jehovah's Witnesses to remember their loved ones who are still trapped by the cult. This video is dedicated to my mom, a victim, who, now in her 80s, struggles with dementia inside an assisted living facility. Sadly, because she's no longer considered useful to them, Jehovah's Witnesses no longer visit her. The friends have abandoned her, just as she abandoned me so long ago. I contacted my mom in January 2014. Time was running out after all, and I wanted to understand what enticed her into joining the Jehovah's Witnesses. I wanted to tell her how I wish things had been different for us, but in the end, she wouldn't hear it. Here is a portion of our conversation edited for brevity.
Hi there. Do you know who this is?
Oh, no.
You don't know who this is? Think about my voice.
Who?
You don't recognize my voice?
No.
What's your youngest daughter's name?
My youngest what?
Your youngest daughter.
Brenda.
Yeah, this is Brenda.
Oh, Brenda.
I came back in last summer to a family reunion. Did you know that?
Probably. I don't remember.
Had their annual family reunion.
Oh, okay.
And I was really excited to come back and have my first reunion with family members. I hadn't seen any of my cousins or aunts or uncles for 40 years.
Uh-huh.
Do you remember what it was like for you before you started studying with Jehovah's Witnesses? Do you remember what your life was like?
Before I became a Jehovah's Witness?
Yeah. What was your life like before that?
I guess I was normal, you know.
You were normal?
Yeah.
Yeah? Do you remember if you were like wishing you had a friend or anything, or were you lonely, or were you unhappy at all, or?
Oh, I don't remember that far back.
No.
No.
What do you remember about when they came to the door? What made you decide to become a Jehovah's Witness?
I don't remember now. You know, I don't go any place or anywhere. I'm in this room. I don't go anywhere now, so I don't know anybody or anything.
Mm-hmm.
But I remember that they were very, very nice people.
Do you remember why I left home?
No.
No? Don't remember the day I said I didn't want to be a Jehovah's Witness anymore?
Oh, I don't remember that. That's been so many years ago, you know.
Oh.
Yeah. Well, I have no regret about being a Jehovah's Witness, you know.
You don't? I do.
I loved all the people.
I have lots of regrets.
Huh?
I have lots of regrets about being a Jehovah's Witness.
Oh.
I didn't get to know my cousins growing up. I lost my grandma. I didn't see her. I wasn't allowed to have any friends. I wasn't allowed to acknowledge my birthday or do the things I wanted to do as a kid. And when I left, you shunned me, and that really hurt. And you didn't speak to me for over 30 years.
Well, I didn't know anything about it or where you were at, probably.
No, you know where I was. You were told not to ever speak to me again. The Watchtower told you never to speak to me again.
Oh, no, they would have never told me something like that.
Well, they did. I even have your letter that you wrote to me saying that the Watchtower told you not to speak to me again.
Oh, maybe. I don't remember to see that far back what happened between us or what, you know, so I don't have any idea what, you know, and I don't appreciate your going over all this, talking about things like this. I mean, this isn't a call that I'm enjoying.
I know. It's hard to hear. It's harder for me to tell you this, too.
Yeah, because, you know, it's an awful thing to talk like this to me, you know.
Yeah, it's an awful thing to lose your mom, too, and have your mom walk out of your life. And it was really hard on me as a young person, and I was trying to...
I've never walked out of your life. You probably walked out of your life yourself.
Yeah, you know what I'll do, Mom? I'll send you this poem, and I'll send you a copy of the letter you wrote me, okay? So you can see it.
No, you don't need to bother, honey.
Why not? What do you...
If it's something to, you know, to make me feel bad, why?
No, I think you just...
Yeah, I'll see you later.
Hello? Wow, she hung up on me.
For over 4 decades, my mother, brother, sister, nephews, and niece have been obedient to their cult. After all, Armageddon is still coming any day now. And only devout Jehovah's Witnesses will survive, according to them. Cults control people through fear. I know that now. I wish my mom had understood that back in 1971. I doubt she would have opened that door. Remember, knowledge is power, and they don't want you to have it. But now, you do. When the time comes, will you open that door to the friends? Will you invite Jehovah's Witnesses into your life? After all, according to my mom, they seem so nice. If you want to learn more about love bombing and how mind control works, visit my website at www.outofthecocoon.net.